The worst part isn't the betrayal. It's the moment you realize you've been living next to it and calling it stress. You can feel it in the air. The silence is thicker. The laughs don't land the same. The touch is different. But you keep doing what most men do when the truth gets too sharp. You rename it. She's tired. She's been busy. It's just a rough patch. And maybe sometimes it is. But when your gut starts whispering the same warning every day, that's not anxiety. That's information. Here's the trap. A lot of women won't walk into the kitchen and announce, "I crossed a line." That doesn't happen in real life the way it happens in movies. What happens is smaller. They leak it. In routines. In tone. In the way they react to your presence. In the way they avoid your eyes. In how quickly they turn simple moments into conflict. In how normal becomes a performance. And that's what this is about. Not turning you into some paranoid detective, sniffing laundry like a bloodhound. This is about making sure you're not the last man in the room to understand what's happening in his own relationship. I'm going to walk you through 8 signs that often show up right after something happened, something she's not proud of and doesn't want to explain. Important. One sign alone doesn't prove anything. People get stressed. People get depressed. People go through hormonal shifts. People get sick. Life is messy. But patterns don't lie. And the last sign is the one that usually ends the story because it's not in her body, it's not in her mood, it's in the logic of her own words. Quick favor before we get into it. If you want more videos that don't sugarcoat what most men already feel but won't say out loud, hit subscribe. And drop a comment telling me what country you're watching from. I want to see how far this message spreads. Now breathe, get honest, and listen closely. Because the first sign isn't something you see. It's something you feel in your chest first, and then you try to talk yourself out of it. And that's exactly why it works. There's a language your relationship speaks that never uses words. It's the small stuff. The way she pulls you in when she's happy to see you. The way she kisses you when nobody's watching. The way her body relaxes around you when she feels safe. When you've been with a woman long enough, you learn her normal the way you learn the sound of your own door lock. You don't have to think about it. You just know. So when that language changes, your body notices before your brain accepts it. Sign number 1. Physical intimacy shifts in a way that doesn't match the situation. This isn't just less intimacy. Long relationships can slow down. That's normal. This is different. This is when she's physically there, but the connection feels unplugged. You reach for her and she stays stiff. You go for a kiss and she turns it into a quick peck like she's clocking in at work. You move closer in bed and she creates distance without even thinking about it. And what makes it brutal is how quiet it is. No argument, no explanation, just a slow freezing. Most men respond the same way. They start bargaining with reality. They try harder. They get more affectionate. They overcommunicate. They start earning what used to be freely given. That's the mistake. If a woman's desire for you has been replaced even temporarily, you cannot negotiate it back with effort. Effort doesn't create hunger. Hunger creates hunger. So what do you do instead? You stop chasing, not to punish her, not to play games. You stop chasing to measure the truth. Pull back for a week. Stop initiating. Stop trying to fix the vibe with extra attention. See what happens when you stop carrying the entire connection on your back. A woman who still wants you will feel that distance and close it. A woman who's emotionally gone won't even notice at first. And when she does notice, she won't move toward you, she'll just get irritated that you stopped doing your job as the relationship's emotional janitor. And if you miss this sign, don't worry. Because if you can't read it in her touch, you'll read it in what she does the moment she walks through the door. Sign number 2. A sudden erase and reset routine. Let's say she comes home and you expect the normal flow. Maybe she drops her bag, talks for a minute, checks on something, changes clothes later. But suddenly, the moment she gets in, she makes a sharp turn, straight to the shower, straight to the sink, straight to the bathroom, like it's urgent. And it's not that showering is suspicious. Obviously it isn't. The tell is the change and the timing. New perfume at a weird time. Clothing swapped when there's no reason. Washing something immediately. Acting weird about laundry. Spraying like she's preparing for a photo shoot at 9:30 at night after running errands. Some people call that self-care, and sometimes it is. But when it shows up right after unexplained absences, late nights, I was just out with friends, and you can't quite place the vibe, it's worth noticing. Not accusing, not interrogating, not doing that weak thing where you ask 10 questions and then accept the first flimsy answer because you're scared of what the truth might cost you. Just notice. Here's what men do that sabotages them. They see the shift, and then they immediately cover it up with optimism. She's taking better care of herself. Good for her. She's just being clean. She's trying a new scent. Maybe. But if you keep talking yourself out of what you're seeing, you become a partner in your own disrespect. The move here is simple. Stop dismissing patterns. If it repeats, you don't need to become a detective. You need to become honest. And honesty gets harder when guilt enters the room because guilt doesn't usually sit quietly. It fights. Which brings us to sign number 3. And this one shows up in your living room like a storm. When someone feels guilty, they don't always apologize. Sometimes they attack. Because if they can make you the problem, they don't have to sit with what they did. Sign number 3. Random anger that doesn't fit the moment. You walk in and the energy is off. No hey, no warmth, just criticism. You didn't text right. You breathed wrong. You said something with the wrong tone. You're too quiet. You're too confident. You're not confident enough. It's like she's hunting for a reason to be mad. And here's the psychology. When someone crosses a line, their mind scrambles to rewrite the story so they don't feel like the villain. So they build a case against you. Not because it's true, but because it's convenient. If she can convince herself you're inattentive, controlling, lazy, or not the same man you used to be, then in her head, what she did becomes understandable. And the mistake men make is they try to win the argument. They explain. They defend. They negotiate. They show receipts. They get emotional. They get loud. But you can't out-logic somebody who's using anger as a smokescreen. The move isn't to argue better. The move is to refuse the script. When she snaps over something small, you don't take the bait. You don't beg for clarity. You say something calm and final like, I'm not doing this. If you want peace, bring peace. If you want war, explain why. Then you go quiet. That's not weakness. That's control. Because the moment you stop dancing, the spotlight hits the real issue. Why she needs chaos right now. And if you felt that anger, you've probably also felt something else, something you can't quite describe, but you notice it anyway. Sign number 4. You sense a shift in how she carries herself around you. Let me phrase this carefully, because this is where people get stupid and start making wild claims. No, you can't scientifically tell a woman slept with someone else by looking at her. Life isn't a crime show, but you can notice when someone's energy changes in a way that doesn't match the story. Maybe she's tense around you for no reason. Maybe she avoids getting too close. Maybe she's jumpy when you touch her. Maybe she's weirdly distant during moments that used to feel natural. Or sometimes, it flips the other way. She's suddenly lighter, more playful, more confident, like she's been emotionally fed somewhere else. Either direction can happen. The point is the shift. Men get this gut feeling and then immediately panic about being insecure. Listen, Asking for consistency isn't insecurity. Pretending you don't notice inconsistency is insecurity. So the move is the same: observation, not obsession. You don't interrogate her. You don't spiral. You don't accuse based on vibes. You watch for consistency. Does it happen repeatedly? Does it show up right after absences? Does it show up alongside other signs, the touch change, the erasing routine, the random anger? Because one sign is life. Multiple signs are a message. Now here's where it gets really cruel. Sometimes guilt doesn't show up as coldness. Sometimes it shows up as a sudden wave of affection that feels almost too perfect. Sign number 5. Over-the-top affection that arrives at suspicious times. This is one of the easiest traps to fall into because it gives you relief. You've been feeling the distance, and suddenly she's hugging you, touching your arm, being sweet, saying the right words. You want to believe it's real. You want to believe she's back. But ask yourself one question. Is this affection consistent, or is it timed? Does it show up randomly, like real love? Or does it show up right after something you can't explain? Because guilty affection can look a lot like love until you realize what it's for. Sometimes it's not about you at all. Sometimes it's her trying to quiet her own conscience by turning you into the good guy she can cuddle so she doesn't feel like a bad person. And if you accept it without thinking, you become a comfort station, a safe place she visits emotionally while her desire is invested somewhere else. What do you do with this? You don't reward affection that feels like a bribe. You don't get drunk on it. You stay calm, and you test reality again. Does it hold when there's no guilt to drown out? Does it continue next week, next month? Or does it vanish the moment she feels clean again? Sometimes the strongest response isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's just distance. A quiet, "I'm not buying what you're selling." And if you keep your head, you'll notice the next sign is even more revealing, because it shows up in the most intimate place where truth is hard to fake for long. There's a difference between being touched and being chosen, and you can feel it. Sign number 6. Emotional absence during closeness. This is the one men hate admitting because it feels humiliating. You're together. Physically, everything looks normal, but it feels like she's somewhere else. Her eyes don't meet yours. Her energy doesn't sync. The connection feels empty, like you're interacting with a version of her that's doing a task. And before someone comments, "Yes, stress can do this. Anxiety can do this. Depression can do this," that's why you don't hang a relationship on one moment. But if it becomes a pattern, it matters. Because when emotional presence leaves, what you have isn't intimacy, it's participation. And if you keep chasing when she's emotionally absent, here's what you teach her. You'll accept less and still give more. So what's the move? You stop trying to perform harder to win her back. You don't turn intimacy into an audition. You pull back, you ground yourself, and you decide, I'm not begging for connection from someone who won't meet me halfway. If you can't talk about it honestly and it keeps happening, that's not a bedroom problem. That's a relationship problem. Now, if she's emotionally leaving, she'll start doing something else too. She'll start disappearing in ways that don't add up. Sign number 7. Time starts slipping, and the excuses get thinner. She's late. Again. Her phone died. Again. Work ran long. Again. A friend needed her. Again. Once or twice. Life. But when it becomes a rhythm, when the same patterns repeat and you're always the last to know details, that's priority. And here's the brutal part. Lateness is often a test. Not always, but often. It tests how much you'll tolerate. It tests whether your boundaries are real or just things you say when you're frustrated. Men mess this up by staying silent because they don't want to seem controlling. Let me give it to you straight. Requiring respect is not controlling. Controlling is trying to micromanage her behavior. Respect is saying, if you keep showing up like this, you're showing me who I am to you. So don't interrogate. Don't demand a 30-minute explanation like you're her manager. Do something sharper. Name the pattern. Calmly. I'm noticing you're gone a lot lately, and the stories don't line up. That changes how I see this relationship. Then stop talking. Silence is powerful when you mean it. Because if you keep filling the air with questions, you're doing her job for her. You're giving her more room to improvise. And that brings us to the final sign, the one that usually ends everything. Because even the best liar eventually contradicts themselves. Sign number 8. Her story starts breaking under its own weight. People think deception is about confidence. It's not. It's about consistency, and that's why it collapses. One day it was a coworker. Next time it's an errand. Then it's, I told you already. Then it's, why are you being weird? Listen carefully. When the details keep shifting, the truth isn't complicated. It's being edited, and the biggest tell isn't even the words. It's the way she reacts when you don't automatically believe her. Normal people might get annoyed, sure, but they'll still try to make it clear because they want to be understood. A person hiding something will do something else. They'll turn it back on you. They'll label you insecure, controlling, paranoid, toxic, because if they can shame you for asking, they don't have to answer. Now, here's the part where men destroy themselves. They demand proof. They want a screenshot, a confession, a hotel receipt, a smoking gun. And while you're trying to build a courtroom case, your dignity is slowly getting auctioned off. You don't need a trial. You need a standard. When the story keeps changing and the patterns stack up, you don't have to scream. You don't have to accuse. You just decide, I don't believe you anymore. That sentence is a boundary, not an argument. And the moment you stop chasing explanations from someone who benefits from confusion, you take your power back. Here's the quiet move that drives dishonest people crazy. When the story starts wobbling, you don't rush to fill the silence. You let it sit. You let her carry the weight of her own contradictions. Because the truth doesn't need you to rescue it. Now, let's land this. This isn't about turning your relationship into a surveillance operation. This is about making sure the harshest betrayal isn't the one she did behind your back. It's the one you do to yourself when you ignore what's right in front of you. If there's room to fix it, you talk like adults. You reset boundaries. You rebuild. But if the pattern is clear, if you're watching your relationship slowly turn into a performance, then the most masculine thing you can do isn't beg. It's choose yourself. Love is never worth trading your self-respect. So here's my challenge. Think of one moment you've been dismissing. One sign you felt and then talked yourself out of. Stop doing that. Either address it head on or step away before your dignity gets slowly sanded down into nothing. If this hit you, subscribe. And in the comments, tell me which sign you've seen most. The distance, the anger, the absences, or the collapsing stories. Somebody reading your comment might finally wake up before it costs them years. And if you're that guy right now, the guy still hoping it's just a phase, I'll leave you with this. Peace doesn't require guessing. Real love doesn't require you to betray yourself to keep it. And the moment you remember that, everything changes.